Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another weekly travel talk. As always, my name is Ali. I am the marketing coordinator with the Women's Travel Club, and I am so happy to be joining you for this special travel talk today on a Mexican cultural journey for Day of the Dead. Little tidge of information about this one. I have been graced to be the tour host for this tour, so I am double excited to be getting into the details and information regarding this tour, as it will be my first time traveling to Mexico, and to be able to do it for a cultural experience like this, I find myself incredibly lucky and excited. So we have an amazing, conversation laid out for you today with the ladies from Once Journeys in Mexico. And we'll be going over this amazing 11-night Superior First Class accommodation tour. It has daily breakfasts included, 9 lunches throughout the tour, and 3 dinners. Lots of hands-on experiences, visual experiences to be had, and of course, for Day of the Dead, quite the spectacle in Mexico. Very special experience to be had. And we're going to get into all of those details and information for you. So without further ado, I will be bringing on Cristina and Ainsley. So let me do that for you guys now. Okay, so there's Cristina and there's Ainsley. Hello, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Lovely to be here.
Very happy. I'm so excited to have you both joining us today. Cristina and Ainsley are going to give us a very balanced overview of the logistical side of the tour, as well as the cultural experiences that are laid out for you. So, of course, we cannot ignore the elephant in the room when it comes to this tour, and that is Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is a notorious, a beautiful celebration that happens in Mexico every year. And Cristina and Ainsley, if either of you would like to kind of give a little bit of information, kind of a window peek as to what Day of the Dead really means in Mexico and its locals.
Sure thing, Ali. Well, first of all, as you said, it's a yearly celebration, but it is, I would say, one of the most important celebrations that has nowadays been portrayed in the media. I think if anyone has had the opportunity to watch the beautiful movie Coco, or movies in which this colorful night comes alive, it is actually the time in which the Mexicans do celebrate their past loved people, loved ones. So it is quite a festive time in Mexico, which is really beautiful. And it is the passing from those who have gone to be present for a night back in the lives. So altars are made, candles are lit for them to come home. And it's a very magical time in which there is a sense of really appreciating life by honoring those who have or are no longer here with us.
Exactly. And growing up, I was always fascinated with the concept of Day of the Dead, because in Canadian culture, to say the least, death can be quite a grim, upsetting topic to some. And I always found it fascinating, heartwarming, and interesting how the Mexican culture has taken this, what could be considered a darker subject, and added color to it, and brought the life back into what death means, if that makes sense. So I have actually goosebumps talking about it. But that's one of the reasons I personally am very excited to be a tour host on this journey, because it's such a interesting concept to those who did not grow up in this type of culture and have those kind of views on life and death.
Completely.
So if you guys want, I can put up, we do have the itinerary PDF available, so I can put that on the stage just to kind of give some photo images for our clients to look at as we discuss the logistics and cultural influences of this journey. So Ainsley, if you would like to kind of give us a brief overview of the accommodations that our members will be staying with, that would be great.
Sure. Of course. So all but one of the places that we'll be staying in during this journey are 4-star accommodation. except for one that will be out in a village just outside of the city. We've chosen these different sorts of locations as a way to give you guys an experience that's very based in the city to begin with. It's giving all of the different types of experiences during Day of the Dead, going down the street, seeing people dressed up, seeing the altars, seeing all the different doors, all the different colors, marigolds everywhere, smells everywhere. It's a really, really exciting time.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the first 4 nights, we'll be staying in the Naura Hotel Boutique right in the center of Oaxaca City, 2 blocks from the Zocalo. So everybody will be right in the middle of it, experiencing Day of the Dead firsthand, right in front of their faces. It's 2 blocks away from the Zocalo. There's also restaurants, cafes, museums, markets, galleries, all within walking distance. The Textile Museum and the San Pablo Cultural Center are basically across the road. So it's a really, really well located, very classical traditional Oaxacan, kind of colonially architectured and decorated hotel. It's really, really beautiful. It's got one of the kind of central patios in the middle of the hotel with all the rooms around the edges. It's a really, really beautiful, beautiful hotel with a rooftop terrace, also the open air patio, and a restaurant and a pool. So after those first 4 nights, we'll be going into one of the most important villages on the outskirts of Oaxaca City called Mitla. Chris is going to talk a little bit more in depth about why Mitla is so important in the Zapotec culture. And there we'll be staying in the one hotel that is not 4 stars, but it is 3. It's a really beautiful, more kind of traditional experience. It's going to be a lot more humble. It's located in the middle of the plaza of the village of Mitla. It also has a pool, a really beautiful garden, and a restaurant. So those 2 nights we'll be experiencing a very different type of Day of the Dead. Not so much busy in the city, but a bit more humble, a bit more somber. Like Chris was saying, a lot more of the celebration of life, but also the celebration of those who have passed and welcoming them back over those. Those are 2 of the most important nights of this celebration.
I think it's really special that, I mean, it might not be 4-star. However, there's a different kind of connotation surrounding this hotel in this city in particular. And the big thing that we like to include in our tours is cultural experiences. And like you said, it's more somber, but you're still getting a different kind of perspective from staying here and in this city in particular.
Exactly. It'll be a lot more personal and intimate experience in Mitla. But Chris will go on about that a little bit more. I don't want to take away her wonderful sections and words. So that experience will be really, really special. Despite not being in a 4-star hotel, it will probably be one of the most memorable parts of the journey. After all of those wonderful experiences, we'll be then heading down to the coastline, to the beach of Oaxaca. You'll actually experience 2 different sections of the beach. Puerto Escondido, where we'll be staying in Villa Sol, which will be for 2 nights. This is a beautiful 4-star resort that's really close to the beach with its own swimming pool, bar, restaurant. It has a regular shuttle service that will take everybody down to the beach, which is not far away, where they'll find what's called Club de Playa, the beach club, which you'll find another pool, a tennis court, another restaurant, and there are big long chairs and umbrellas on the beach for everybody to enjoy the beach.
Beautiful.
After that, we'll be heading to another section of the beach of the coastline of Oaxaca, about an hour away, called Huatulco. And this is a really gorgeous section. It's like a little string of different bays of crystal clear water, really white sands, really, really relaxed, no big crazy waves. And here we'll be staying in a place called Quinta Bella, which will be for the last 3 nights of the trip. And this is a gorgeous resort right on the beach. So here there are 2 different pools, 7 different high quality restaurants, some with your feet in the sand, some with views of the ocean. There's also a spa and a gym, and as I said, situated right on the beach, so everybody can enjoy those last 4 days just purely relaxing.
Yeah, it sounds to me that no matter if our members choose to go on the excursions or not, they have a pretty solid place to hang out and relax and
Base
enjoy
themselves.
some beautiful inclusions and accommodations at each of these hotels.
Exactly.
So, if they're not too keen on the particular activity that day, you're still going to get some incredible fulfillment at each of these resorts or hotels, from what I understand.
Exactly. And yeah, that's definitely why we chose the ones that we chose, so that people can either dip in and out and take their time doing what they want to do.
Have a bit of sense of freedom there, which I think is
Exactly.
beautiful. So then, just to discuss transfer, I know it's very brief. However, I like to just go over it shortly or quickly. Sorry. So in terms of transportation costs and transfers for this tour, not costs, sorry, but the logistics, what does that entail for our members? What does that inclusion detail?
So once everybody arrives to Oaxaca, everything is going to be included. We will be traveling in the same new Mercedes Sprinter, which will fit the whole group and everybody's luggage super, super comfortably. We will have the same chauffeur, the same driver from the start till the end. He'll be taking us to either the activities or back to our hotel or to dinners or wherever we need to be going. We have full service for the entire trip. And we have been working with this driver and his company for over 6 years.
Oh,
So
awesome.
we have full confidence. He's very punctual and the vans are always very clean. We've never had a problem before. It's very
That's awesome.
comfortable.
I always like to just detail the transfer information, just because our tours vary with including that or not. But I always like to just make sure that it is set clear for this tour, so they will be included. And it's clearly very reputable shuttle service driver. You guys seem to have a good relationship with, so that's great. And can I just ask you, Ainsley, so we will have the same driver throughout. Does that is that the same for our in-country guide? Do we have the same guide with us throughout the trip as well?
Yes, it will be the same team for the whole time, chauffeur
Perfect.
and guides.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Beautiful. So to kind of segue from, the hotels and the transfer, this tour particularly is a huge cultural experience. And I would, Christina's like, yes, it is.
Yes,
One. As opposed to some of our other tours, this one in particular is quite focused on the Day of the Dead cultural experience and the Mexican cultural experience as well. So, we have lined up different workshops and activities and such to make sure that our members are getting the most out of this journey, this adventure from Mexico. So in regards to something like the graphic arts workshop, what should we expect in regard to that?
Sure thing. Well, one important thing to mention is that the focus on this trip is in Oaxaca, right? It's one of the states, it's one of the largest states of Mexico. It's one of the most diverse states within cultures, languages. So the arts is one of the columns that stands under the grounds of Oaxaca, besides the historical archaeological importance. But the arts in Oaxaca it's so extent. There has been numbers of over 200 workshops that take place just in the city center for different arts, such as etching or graphics or printing. And we have selected one workshop that is very close to our hearts, not only because it focuses on this beautiful art of etching, which is the carving of the wood and the printing, but it's all run by women. And it's led by women. It also holds a space for projects that are made by women. And during the time of the Day of the Dead, we notice, or it's to be noted, that it leads towards these images that you will see a lot. The skull, the marigold flowers, which are of super importance during the time, which we'll have an opportunity to visit and collect our own, to put in our altars. All of those are represented, are printed to have in your homes. So the arts, the graphic workshop was one of those areas that we wanted to focus because it is mostly led by men, the arts of printing in Oaxaca. It is a fact. And that's why this specific workshop, it's close to our heart, as I mentioned, because it does empower women in the community, in the arts community, and how during that time more of the community comes together to work on it. So.
Right. Well, we're always jumping on the first opportunity we can to connect with women of all these different cultures and experiences, and to have a workshop that's specifically cultivated for the women of Oaxaca and of Mexico, I think is something that's really special for our members, just to kind of see another side of what it means to be a woman in different countries, and what I wouldn't say roles and responsibilities are, as we've eradicated that for genders, but what it means to them personally, what being involved in these crafting workshops and whatnot, how that contributes to their sense of self and their sense of community and engagement. So I think that I'm very pleased, I think, and of course, so is Marianne and the rest of our tour department, that you guys have offered that for our members. So that's a very hands-on cultural experience that we have. Now, tell us a bit about the less hands-on kind of experiences, like the guided tour of now correct me if I'm wrong, Monte Alban.
Monte Alban, correct. Ali, you're ready to come.
I'm Italian, what is it, accent, because of my mother. So when I try to speak like French or Spanish, it always comes out in an Italian accent. So I'm sorry, but please do tell us a little bit about those things.
So, well, first of all, regarding the language, and so just a side note that Oaxaca nowadays also, because it has been sort of put in the view look of the world, it's something that we want travelers to know that they can feel very comfortable when they are out and about, because a lot of people will do their best to communicate in small of English a little bit. So just for that, because Ali, I think you're going to be wonderful within Monte Alban. So that's something, the Oaxacan hospitality. It's something very beautiful. So you can pronounce it as it comes and they'll understand it. So that's good.
Good to know.
But Monte Alban, in that sense, it is one of our important highlights of the trip, because of the historical and architectural importance that it has in Mexico. It is one of the largest Zapotec architectural sites. It held a treasure that it's known as one of the largest treasures in Latin America. And it stands still with an impressive archaeological and architectural stand. So it does give us a bit of the understanding of the Zapotec culture. Imagine this, Monte Alban was built 500 years before Christ. It was one of the largest sites from the pre-Columbus Mesoamerican sites. And it's where a lot of the trade and decisions were made in the region. So it is important for us to bring it in our itinerary, to have a broader understanding of today's culture, to Mexico, to the communities, of the languages. So Monte Alban is one of our 2 archaeological sites to visit. And to be honest, it really humbles you to stand there and to grasp a perspective of what life was and is nowadays within the Mexican culture.
Interesting. And then the next one, the other kind of archaeological.
The second site, actually, Ainsley mentioned it. It's Mitla. So Mitla, it's a different town outside Oaxaca, within the state, but not the city center of the city of Oaxaca. And it is known to be the entrance to the underground for the Zapotec culture. So it is an archaeological site, but it is of great importance during Day of the Dead, because there are tombs located there to which Mexicans would go pay respect to their old ones. And it also has caves that reveal there's a cosmovision that sort of connects the underground and the living ground together. And during the Day of the Dead, those doors are open, right? It is the passing. So it is very interesting, because on the nights of the 1st and 2nd of November, which we will be one of those nights staying in Mitla, as Ainsley explained, and why the importance of being there. Those are the nights in which the dead ones come visit the living ones. So Mitla itself, it's vibrant. All the plazas, the squares, the streets will have spaces for people to commemorate their loved ones, past ones. So that's why Mitla itself, being sort of the entrance of the underground, of the underworld, it's of such importance to Day of the Dead.
I was going to say, going to Mitla, I'm sure, can be such an incredible experience any other day of the year, because from what you guys have explained, it seems like such a hot spot for culture and for, connection and solidarity. But to be there during this specific time, I feel kind of takes this tour to the next level, where yes, you can be involved in the whole sound, sights, colors, excitement of Day of the Dead, but you're also getting the other side of the coin to see it from Mitla perspective, and it's completely different, but celebrating the same kind of idea.
Yes. And I think also being a smaller town, it does give you the more one-on-one perspective, right? We have opportunities during those celebrations to walk into people's homes. They actually open the doors for you to visit their altars. They welcome you in. They tell you about their relatives. So being in Mitla itself gives an even more of a personal opportunity to have that one-on-one, right? Because Oaxaca is bigger, it's more busy. Other cities, Mitla being smaller, but such a sort of base to the importance of Day of the Dead, I think will provide us that opportunity to really, encourage our travelers to ask, to get to know, to offer, to share experiences with the locals as well.
And it's amazing because it's only like 40 minutes outside of Oaxaca, the center of Oaxaca City, but you are transported to a completely different world.
Yes.
Between
that's so exciting.
During Day of the Dead, like just the differences in the two experiences of the same celebration.
Exactly. And that's what I think kind of, like I said, takes this tour to the next level, to show our members and the people joining us what Day of the Dead really is about from a 360 degree perspective. So you're not just getting I don't want to say stereotypical, because there's no there, stereotypical in a sense, where some people, have this, upfront view or understanding of what Day of the Dead is. Kind of myself, what I've seen from mainstream media and how I've kind of gathered that information. But then you're also going to get it from a completely different side that I don't think I would really see anywhere in the mainstream media.
And I think that's generally the types of experiences that we try to curate and organize in any of our experiences with Once is exactly that. We try and offer people like really genuine, really authentic connections with people and culture and place that is not the stereotypical sort of experiences of Oaxaca. So that's exactly what's going to be happening on this trip.
Well, I'm so happy that we've found each other, and we're working on this.
Us too.
Our views align quite beautifully when it comes to what really makes a tour and what makes an experience. With that being said, kind of, sticking to the one side of the coin with Day of the Dead and Oaxaca, what kinds of, celebrations can our members expect to be involved in when it comes to Oaxaca's Day of the Dead celebrations?
Well, during those times, you will find that a lot of people are in the streets. I would say, I'm not going to say there's parades but they are nights dedicated to each of the nights of that week, in which there will be musical bands taking on, families visiting the cemeteries to honor the tombs, the resting places of their loved ones. There will be a lot of, probably it changes, it varies, right, depending where you are, the days. But you will see sort of the colors present everywhere, like street fairs and arts. So that's something that and of course, you will see a lot of people with painted faces of skulls. That's not to be missed. And that's something that it is really stimulating to all the senses, because as you mentioned and we discussed, is not only the colors, but it's the smells. There's a specific smell to the air of copal that is burned, the flowers, the sounds of the music. So during those days that we're
me little goosebumps, and I know what it is.
So there's sort of those, and in our case, for example, the making of the altar is one of those events that it's so important, right? That the families come together, and the altar has different elements in which they include food and drinks and pieces of their loved ones' offerings. And we are going to take place in making our altar, in collecting our flowers, and learning from traditional cooks of what are the specific dishes prepared throughout those holidays. So we really want our travelers to be immersed in the feeling of really being part of Day of the Dead, of honoring your own ones that during those celebrations.
And it seems that, oh, go on, Ainsley, please.
No, I was going to say, like, with making the altar, it's such an important and special time for all of us here, whether you're Mexican or not, to celebrate those people that we've lost and people that we want to remember. And as Cristina was saying, all the different offerings that we put on the altars, it's also putting things that our loved ones also loved, to try and remind them to come back to us for those days. And the marigolds, the smell of the marigolds is the smell that the dead are being drawn to come back with. And we would ask that your travelers bring with them any photos of their lost ones that they'd like to put on the altar that we'll be making together.
It's funny you say that, because I was just going to say, and now that I'm kind of understanding more of the process of the altars and the significance, I'm thinking to myself, okay, what can I bring that's my nonos that I can, the
definitely
mind that I already know, because death is everywhere, no matter what culture, no matter, I lived in Ireland, death was, viewed very specifically. But at the end of the day, I think the universal concept that we all want to honor our loved ones after passing, regardless of if that's through Day of the Dead celebrations, funeral celebrations. Exactly. Everybody has their own way. But I think it's really beautiful to be given the opportunity as a North American traveler, where most of our members are coming from, to honor our loved ones from a different cultural perspective. It's not just how we do it here in Canada, maybe praying on the rosary if you're Catholic or things like that. It's taking it to the next level. And, I'm so excited just talking about it to honor my grandfather in that way. Yes. And I hope that that's something, a feeling that our other members are kind of getting here too, where, you don't really get excited about death in North America, in Canada at least. But right now, I'm kind of excited about it.
I understand.
To really celebrate life and death together, So it is a time. Don't be surprised. You will be offered mezcal. You will be offered to drink and toast and eat. So we do make there is a whole party celebration to honor them.
And it seems that the five senses are really kind of hit when indulging in these activities and inclusions and experiences, because I think that's one of the best ways to really be culturally immersed, is to, taste the food. We just had a travel talk last week about how important gastronomy is, and experiencing food in different cultures and countries. Definitely. And then the sense, of course, of the marigolds, and that is what draws the dead to us, and the tastes and the sounds, and it's just it's a really well-rounded cultural experience that we have with you guys for Day of the Dead. So I'm really excited for our members to indulge in that. Moving kind of towards the arts section again, arts and crafts workshops, the weaving cooperative studio, that what does that really entail? What does that mean?
So we're going to be visiting a beautiful women's weavers collective in a different Zapotec village, also about 45 minutes outside of Oaxaca City. It's a really special cooperative because traditionally here, for weaving, it's a man's position. Women don't normally do the weaving; they do the natural dyeing of the wool, and then the men are the ones who weave it. So in the 90s, this amazing group of women set up this incredible collective of women, which you guys will learn all about the history of. I won't give any of it away, but it's a pretty empowering story. And they still remain to be the only female weavers in the community, in a community of 90% of people weaving. 90% of the people in the village weave, and they're the only female weavers. So they're very special, and their space is beautiful, and they will be giving us a talk about the formation of the collective and why they came together at the way that they did. They will give you guys a really incredible natural dyes demonstration where you guys will learn about all different types of plant dyes, insect dyes, indigo, and how they transform with water and different additives and create all natural colors of the rainbow. It's absolutely amazing to see. You'll also have a demonstration on the pedal loom, how they weave the different rugs. And we'll also be discussing all of the symbology, the Zapotecan symbology that you'll see in all of the rugs all around Oaxaca. And an interesting fact is that a lot of the motifs that you see in a lot of, not just the rugs, but the textiles in Oaxaca are the motifs that you find in the, how do you say, Grecos?
The Grecas. It's the architectural design they set up in the archaeological sites.
In Mitla. And so Mitla is an amazing space for so many different things. So once you've seen the archaeological site, you'll also then start to see all the different types of patterns and symbols. So we'll talk all about those. And you will also have the opportunity to see all the rugs that the women have woven. And if you guys want, there's opportunities to buy some with zero obligation. But they're amazing.
From different countries, because it's not just a normal tourist kind of souvenir. It's something that is so personal and it has heart in it. And that's what I love about these kind of experiences. There's heart in what is being done.
Exactly. No, and after you've connected with these women, yeah, you probably want to take a little piece of them home with you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so that'll be the, in a nutshell, what you guys will experience with Vida Nueva, the women's collective.
Beautiful. And then with kind of piggybacking onto those five senses, there's a Oaxacan chocolate workshop.
There is indeed.
I had to ask because I love chocolate.
And chocolate is also another big part of Day of the Dead. There's a lot of at night while it's cold, because even if it's not really in the middle of winter and everything's quite cold, there is a belief, and for the last 7 years of living here, I've witnessed it, that the days around Day of the Dead drop in temperature. They really, really do. And so a lot of people here believe that it's the energy of the past ancestors coming back to Oaxaca that lowers that temperature.
Wow.
It's very interesting. So we drink a lot of hot chocolate to keep ourselves warm. Chocolate is also an offering that's put on a lot of the altars. And so in the same village as the Weaving Collective, in Teotitlan del Valle, we will go visit Trini, who is a traditional chef, and we will do a chocolate making workshop with her. So we'll learn about how to toast the cacao and the cinnamon. We'll learn about how it's ground, all the different types of ways that you can add or not add sugar to make it as sweet or not as you want. You'll be making all the individual little serving sizes, and then you'll learn how to also prepare it and drink it with either water.
And then, I was going to say, then we can learn how to consume it.
And then we get to consume it, of course. Yes.
Perfect. That'll be my highlight. There's so many highlights to be had. I'm struggling to pick what I'm most excited about here.
And all of that will take place in Trini's house as well. So we'll be welcomed into Trini's beautiful home in Teotitlan. So we'll also see how her family has prepared their house for this celebration as well.
Oh, that's stunning. That's amazing. So moving forward from kind of those interactive experiences, I know we've already talked about Mitla's archaeological site. Are there any other kind of main locations aside from Mitla that you find to be the very significant when it comes to Day of the Dead? Is it, I know aside from the tour we have the Oaxaca, Mitla and whatnot, but anywhere else in Mexico that we might not be seeing? Are there other kind of celebrations happening throughout the country and things like that?
The two biggest areas, I mean, the biggest area outside of Oaxaca is Michoacan, usually, that celebrates in a really, really deep and cultural sense, like Oaxaca. In Mexico City, there's huge celebrations because it's a huge city, and you know, it's
They
Mexico City.
do a big parade that takes place, but that's something
Massive.
we have to admit, that's something that was made in the less than 10 years, this parade, of the paper mache figurines and like all the skulls, right? So that takes place. I think a lot of people do relate Day of the Dead with this parade.
Right.
But I would say the most personal experiences, as Ainsley mentioned, would be in the states of Michoacan and Oaxaca. So we're very proud that we actually get to live that experience here in Oaxaca, because it is common the night of Day of the Dead for families to gather and do a celebration anywhere in the country. But these two states make sort of a whole week,
whole different experience
of living it. Yes.
The reason I asked is because I kind of just wanted to show our members or explain to them that we're really getting the best of the best experience when it comes to being able to be in Oaxaca and to go to Mitla. There are obviously, I knew the answer when I asked it, but there are obviously more celebrations going on. But again, I just wanted to reiterate the I guess you could say, importance of this itinerary, the significance of how lucky we are to be able to experience Day of the Dead from this point of view and this perspective in these different cities. So thanks. Sorry, I knew the answer, but I had to ask.
No, it's a very good question.
Yeah, you have that. A lot of the elements that are brought in are also, most of them are rooted here. For example, we talked about the marigolds. You'll see that most of the fields of marigolds are here. They're actually shipped to the city, Mexico City, throughout the celebrations. Here's where you have the pottery workshops, which are different types of potteries where the pieces are made for the altars. You also have the workshops for the alebrijes, which is another of our visits that we will have on our itinerary, in which they are placed. They're throughout the year, but they are sort of this iconic element that will protect, right? The alebrije is this mystical figure that protects against the evil eye. So they're also very present in the celebration. And they are here, the workshops in Oaxaca, and we get to see that process prior and during Day of the Dead. So it is quite a unique experience to be in Oaxaca throughout that time of the year.
Yes, and that's what I was trying to kind of project with that question. I just to show, tell our members that this is the way to do it. If you're going to do it, I believe
it is.
Being too marketing centered, I do honestly, after talking with you, your team over the course of the past few months that we've been cultivating this tour together, it's something that I've come to understand that I think this is the best way to do it. So personal opinion, but I always have to say that.
I think the personal opinion is
we are biased. We do. We live here in Oaxaca. We live the celebration of Day of the Dead. So we do think Oaxaca is the best place to be.
And honestly, every year experiencing it doesn't get any less or inspiring. It's every year is just a magical experience.
I can imagine. Just kind of touching on the kind of ecotourism nature side of things. So there is a planned visit to an ecotourism project. Can we get a little sneak peek insight on what that is and what it means to the tour?
Yes. So after we have celebrated all of we can with Day of the Dead in the city and in Mitla, we will then be heading down towards the coast. And our first stop on the coast is to an ecotouristic project called Pueblo del Sol, which before coming to the beach, it's still up in the mountains, surrounded by trees. And so it's actually a conservation and regeneration project on 800 hectares of land up in the mountains. It's a really, really incredible project. They are dedicated to kind of finding more sustainable ways of living and also teaching those to people as well. So they're returning to kind of ancestral processes and how to remember and honor the connection that we have with the land. So in doing that, they have different sorts of projects, like a coffee plantation that every single stage is sustainable and organic. They have a carpentry workshop that all of the wood from the area they use to make furniture, not just for Pueblo del Sol, but for also other restaurants or hotels around the beach, around Oaxaca and in other parts of the country. There's also a ceramic studio that, again, makes different plates and different types of things for the space and other projects around the area. And they also have a bee preservation, pollination, and honey project to try and help to preserve the existence of bees, obviously. So while we're going to be there, we will get a really beautiful introduction to their project. We will go for a walk to the waterfalls, and we will also experience their coffee project. So the whole process will be explained to us. And then we'll finish our experience there in their beautiful kitchen with a view of all the mountains, having a lunch that they've prepared for us.
Awesome. One of our included lunches of the trip. And I think to have that particular lunch included, you can always go to a restaurant and have a great lunch and whatnot, but to be able to walk through the beginning to end process and the sustainability aspect to it, the preservational aspects to it, I think really is what makes it special and unique. And after experiencing all of that, cultural, I don't want to say overload, because it's not an overload by any means. It's
a very stimulating experience.
Yes,
exactly. And diverse. Yes.
And very diverse. Exactly.
Yeah.
So after
this
all
the come down, heading towards the relaxation zone.
You relax in nature.
We're going to
Yes.
relax. And
Yes.
that, speaking of going to relax, just tell me a bit about the boat tour, because I know that's in Oaxaca. So what is that all about? What are we going to be seeing?
So after we've been to Pueblo del Sol, we'll have a couple of the nights in Villa Sol, the first beach area that I told you about in Puerto Escondido. And then we'll be heading to the beautiful Huatulco, which is the string of the gorgeous bays. The Oaxacan coastline is pretty crazy, the ocean and the surf and the waves. So it's going to be really nice to finish the trip with a few days in Huatulco, because the ocean is super calm, crystal. It's one of the most beautiful parts of the Oaxacan coastline, in my opinion, humble opinion. So so one of the days, we haven't wanted to pack all of these days full of activities, because also it is going to be the time where you guys get to kind of come down from the stimulating experiences in Oaxaca City to just relax, to process what's gone on, and just to recharge as well. And so one of the activities that we've organized is a boat trip, which will be a trip of different bays. So we'll be based in Huatulco on the main beach, but this will take us to a few different beaches that you can only access through boat. We'll be able to stay on some of those beaches. We'll be able to do some snorkeling and some swimming and relaxing. But yeah, it's just an opportunity to get to know a little bit more than just the one beach that we'll be staying on.
Awesome.
And it'll be for most.
Sorry, I was gonna say it's like a mini cruise, like a
little baby cruise. Yes,
little baby cruise. I love cruising. I love boats. I love beaches. So I'm very excited for that. Yes, exactly. And I think it's a great way to kind of de-escalate from the stimulation that we've encountered in the beginning portions of the tour, the first and a half. So
and it's also just a really nice way for you guys to see all different parts of the biodiversity of Oaxaca state. You'll be in the city, then you're going to be in a village, then you're going to be up in the mountains near the coastline in the coffee region, then in one of the main beaches on the crazy part of the coast, and then in the beautiful bays. So you'll see it all.
Yeah, it seems to be a very well-rounded itinerary in kind of every aspect, from cultural round off to a archaeological standpoint to an ecotourism standpoint. All of the marks are kind of being hit, which I think is why I'm very keen on promoting this tour and getting as many members as possible, because I don't think there's a better way to see Mexico from this perspective apart from Day of the Dead, and then including Day of the Dead, like we said, to get that kind of both sides of the coin experience from Oaxaca to Mitla. So I'm super pleased, super excited to be going on this tour. You guys are making me so much more excited, and I hope that we've kind of spilled out my emotions through the screen to our members. And
the
I know
smell of marigold.
yes,
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully they can smell it through the picture and whatnot. But just to kind of round off this talk, to kind of bring things to a conclusion, are there any, recommendations either of you two have for what they should bring for the tour? I know we've said, pictures of your loved ones that have passed that you would like to honor. Is there anything else, even in terms of clothing or packing, that you guys would recommend? Because it does get colder.
I mean, we recommend to have a light jacket throughout the tour, because sometimes we have this idea that Mexico is hot all the year. And as Ainsley said, we don't know how, but it gets cooler throughout Day of the Dead. So to bring layers, just so you can put them on and down, we do recommend a hat. That is a must in all of our visits. The sun here is a very bright sun, so a hat, and we are firm believers that we should always have our water bottles with us. So bring a reusable water bottle. Here in Mexico,
and we'll always have
exactly. You do not drink the tap water, but we'll provide places to have it refilled. But it's important to do that. And as you mentioned, one thing that we do want to remind everyone is to bring something from their loved ones who have passed, to honor them throughout their time that they will be celebrating. And
some very comfortable walking shoes, because we'll be doing a lot of walking.
Yes,
okay.
And of course,
we won't be having like major fancy dinners, but it's always nice to bring like one nice thing, some comfortable clothes.
Yeah, comfortable clothes. And besides that, as we've been saying, because they will be so exposed to, all the senses, the hospitality, it's just to bring it sounds cliche, but a very open mind, right? Of how these days take place in the culture, the Zapotec, the Mexican culture, and to bring questions and curiosity to the table, because locals will be more than happy to share with our travelers, and to tell their stories. So we always encourage everyone to be curious, to ask the questions, to really show that what you want to know. They'll be happy to integrate you in the celebration. So that's something that it's a must, I would say, in this trip.
Yes, thank you. And then just to kind of ask about the honoring of our loved ones. When we bring these pictures, because I just already know that's a question that's going to be asked, are these staying in Oaxaca and we're leaving them there? Or do we bring them home with us on the plane? Are we bringing memorabilia that we do not need to keep, like that aren't so sentimental that we need to keep them, is what I'm asking. Are they going to be out of our reach after the tour?
No, once you finish the altar, before we move from Mitla to the coast, you can take them with you. The altars usually stay just a couple of days in the homes, and then they're removed. But if you choose to leave it for a couple more days where we will have our space, that's perfectly fine. But if it's something, for example, I know I always place a watch that used to be my grandfather's, I would take that back with me. So they can't have a choice if they want to take them with them, to bring them back with you.
I just knew it
was very valid, very
good question.
You never know, of course, like, we're coming as guests to indulge in this this very sacred tradition, and I don't want to be misinformed. I don't want to misinform anybody else. We're here as guests to learn from you guys and the locals and whatnot. So as long as we can be as respectful as possible to the proceedings of these celebrations, that's I think number one as a tour host from my perspective, that I want to make sure everybody on both sides is respected and everything kind of goes off without a hitch. Now, like you said, coming with an open mind, especially to a trip and a tour like this, is extremely important. Be ready to absorb knowledge, be ready to ask questions, and things like that. So I appreciate that input as well. And about the hat, because I'm very pale. I don't tan. So, and I'm going to need a good pair of sunglasses as well.
Yes,
So even with the weather changing a little bit because of, Day of the Dead, we're also going to be on the coast as well, which I can assume will have some
it's
winds.
always warm.
Exactly. So to kind of just be prepared on every level with layers and comfortability and stuff like that. So thank you for that.
And just by the way, if anyone forgets their hat or they don't want to pack it at the beginning, you will have opportunities through the markets that we visit here. They do have beautiful, I must say, my favorite hat I got here the first time I came to Mexico. So,
Land of sombreros.
it can be a beautiful also sort of personal
Souvenir.
souvenir to take back as well. So just in case when you're packing, if it's the one thing
in case you accidentally want to forget your hat.
Oh no, I forgot. As the tour host, I didn't know what to pack. But, thank you so much. I think this was such a great conversation, very informative. I think we hit all the marks that we needed to, from the hands-on experiences to the archaeological landmarks to the ecotourism, and then of course Day of the Dead and the importance of that tradition. So thank you both for taking the time out of your days to sit with me. What time is it where you are again? You guys are 3 hours.
Nearly 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So 2 hours behind, roughly. But again, thank you. If there's any final remarks that you'd like to make in conclusion, now would be the time.
No, I think we covered everything, but obviously we're always here. If you end up having some questions from any of your travelers that they want some answers to, we're always happy to help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Seconding on Ainsley on that, and just how happy we are to be able to share this experience with your travelers. And especially being a company that tailors to women who travel, our key facts as safety, as really being conscious of the tourism that we are creating and the connections that come through the trip. We're just very, very happy that we have managed to do this collaboration and to show you our beautiful town through a very special time of the year.
Absolutely. There's something to be said about women companies supporting other women's companies. I mean, we have a beautiful list of suppliers across the world who we've cultivated some pretty incredible, beautiful journeys with. But like I said, there's something to be said about women working with women. And I am very happy to have had both of you here, two beautiful, clearly smart, strong, amazing women, to give our members a bit more of an insight as to what this tour means, not only to your company and ours, but to Mexico as a whole. So with that being said, I'll just take this guy off. I will just tell our members very quickly, of course, the comment section is always open. However, our email, phone number, website, Facebook group, we're always available to talk to you guys. If you have any questions specifically for Cristina or Ainsley regarding this tour, just reach out to me by email, ali@womenstravelclub.com, and I can relay those questions to you and get you an answer. So with that being said, thank you, guys. Thank you both. And I look forward to having our travel talk next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Eileen. Have a lovely afternoon.
You too, guys. Bye.
Bye.